safely to their families. And we are also confident that the Iraqi people and their armed forces, police, are in a position now to take care of their own security.
You're happy to see the American troops going home, and that's because most Iraqis don't actually trust them, didn't actually get on with them that well.
Well, I wouldn't say most Iraqis, but there has been different opinions in Iraq as to the role that they have played in Iraq. I think most Iraqis would remember the hardships under the previous regime and the fact that they could not get rid of the dictator without help from outside, and specifically from the American forces. But the conduct of some of these forces after the fall of the regime have not been what the Iraqi expected, and that's why there have been a mixed feeling among the population. But now the country is almost unanimous, I would say, that they should be respectfully returning home, and Iraq should move into a new era of cooperation with the United States in all economic, cultural, political fields.
Sorry to interrupt you, but surely the lesson of this last year of all years is that you don't have to lose 4,500 American lives, you don't have to lose tens of thousands of Arab lives in order to change a government, which is what has happened in the last 8.5 years. Look at Libya, look at Tunisia, look at Egypt. There is another way, there was another way.
No, this is true, and as a matter of fact, I personally have been on record just before the invasion of Iraq that the best way of changing the regime is to help the Iraqi people to rise up and deprive the regime of his air power and tanks if he decides to attack his own population. And I believe that would have been the easiest way to empower the Iraqi people to do the work themselves. However, there was what the U.S. administration at the time have chosen another route, and that has cost Iraqis many lives.
Well, it was the wrong route, wasn't it?
And the Americans also.
It was the wrong route, full stop.
In my opinion, if the Iraqi people were empowered to rise up, and the regime was told in very clear terms that he would not be allowed to use his air force and tanks against the Iraqi population, that would have been a much better route to bring down a regime and allow the Iraqi people to build their own democracy.
Now, you'll be aware that there are many people who are now saying that, okay, Iraq has got a difficult challenge ahead, but perhaps, just perhaps, one problem has been solved, the problem of Saddam Hussein. But a new problem has been created, and that is a resurgent Iran.
Well, Iraq does have its differences with some of its neighbors, and it has to solve those problems with the neighbors. But overall, what I think Iraq is now is a free country, a democratic country, a country with a great potential, not only of natural resources.
Yes, but let's talk about Iran. Sorry to interrupt, let's talk about Iran.
Yeah.
Isn't Iran now in a more powerful position in the region than it was 8.5 years ago?
Well, Iran is developing its own potential. It has nothing to do with what's happening in Iraq. Iran's military programs, nuclear programs, its own political developments, economic developments are matters of concern to Iran. These are not affected by what's going on in Iraq. And if Iraq is in a stronger position in the region, this is because what it is. As far as our relationship with Iran is concerned, the Iranians are fully aware. We have told them in very clear terms that we will not accept or allow any interference in our internal affairs. They acknowledge, accept, and respect that.
All right. And finally, if you had to choose one single job that you and the administration in Iraq have to fulfill now, one big challenge, what is it?
Building our democracy, and developing and reconstructing our economy in short term. And I would also add to that normalizing our relationship with all our neighbors and being very instrumental in bringing about democratic change in the region, where all the people can live free with full political and human rights.
All right, we'll leave it there. Hussein al-Shahristani, Deputy Prime Minister of Iraq, thank you for being on GMT.